Who do you think is the single most likely good player to get traded over the next 2 months?
I think it's Donovan Mitchell.
Whether it be in the next 2 months or even during the summer, where we're going to have to talk about the future of Donovan Mitchell.
He's like, what's the difference between Utah and Cleveland? Am I going to be able to win? Do I have enough here? And the answer is no, he does not have enough.
Last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers made a statement to the rest of the league when they traded for Donovan Mitchell. This young ascending team believed they were ready to take the next step in their timeline to contention, a franchise that has been scarcely relevant without LeBron James. The Cavaliers made the playoffs without him for the first time in 25 years. But even after a career year for Donovan Mitchell and a pretty good regular season in year one, this season the Cavaliers are feeling the heat to trade their all-NBA guard. But why? If they were successful in year one and they made it all the way to the playoffs and had one of their most successful seasons to date, why is Donovan Mitchell in trade rumors? Well, it's a very deep and complicated story, but to start, recent injuries and a slight regression have stagnated the first 2 months of Cleveland's season. Mitchell was acquired so Cleveland could challenge the league's elite, but they've shown little reason to believe that they're in the East's top tier. With each passing week, it seems more likely that a Donovan Mitchell trade out of Cleveland is a matter of when, not if. So before we get to the content, channel members, we are now releasing some content a little bit earlier to you guys in exchange for you guys slightly supporting the channel. If you're interested, click the join button so you can check out our channel memberships program. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. We made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, bam, bam. Bam! My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code microphone to double your deposit up until $100 on Prize Picks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The Cleveland Cavaliers were a young team on the rise when they acquired Donovan Mitchell. After 3 consecutive years of drafting in the top 5, the Cavaliers finally put it all together in the 21-22 season, winning 44 games just before losing in the play-in. Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen were all-stars, while Evan Mobley put the league on notice as the Rookie of the Year runner-up. Those three, along with a strong supporting cast, helped engineer a 22-win improvement, big enough that the organization believed that they were ready to speed up their timeline. The Mobley-Allen front court anchored a top 5 scoring defense, but they still needed help on offense, especially in the backcourt. During their play-in losses to Brooklyn and Atlanta, Darius Garland was the only one who would consistently create his own shot. They had a good scorer on the roster already in Colin Sexton, but he was limited to just 11 games after a season-ending meniscus injury. That injury complicated Colin Sexton's restricted free agency as he remained unsigned late in the 2022 offseason. That summer, the Utah Jazz's roster detonation was officially underway after trading Rudy Gobert to Minnesota in early July. Everyone knew Donovan Mitchell was next, and the expectation was that he was going to get traded to his hometown New York Knicks, or maybe the Miami Heat. However, the Miami Heat almost never succeed whenever it comes to acquiring a superstar, and we've covered this in previous uploads, while the New York Knicks pretty much have the same reputation. Negotiations stalled between his hometown New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz, allowing the Cleveland Cavaliers to swoop in and get the deal done. In early September of last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers acquired Donovan Mitchell from the Utah Jazz in exchange for Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, who agreed to a sign-and-trade, and 5 years of draft control. The NBA world was stunned by Cleveland's bold move, including Donovan Mitchell himself, who believed he was going to be a New York Knick, just like everybody else did. And he even brought this up when he was introduced for the first time as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Summer, I didn't really say much. I kind of just let you guys
do what you guys do, to be honest. And you know, I thought for sure I was going back home. Not going to lie about that. But you know, when I found out where I was headed, who I was playing with, the group, the team, the coaching staff, I couldn't be more happier.
If you're a Miami Heat fan, this is probably giving you horrible flashbacks to what happened with Damian Lillard this past offseason. But regardless, it's hard to imagine a better regular season scenario than the one that played out for Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers during the 2022 to 2023 season. You see, Donovan Mitchell had the highest scoring average of his career, on his way to becoming an all-star starter for the first time and the fourth Cleveland Cavaliers all-star starter ever. He also earned a second-team All-NBA nod, his first All-NBA honor, and the fifth Cavalier to ever earn that recognition. Mitchell's inaugural season in the wine and gold will likely be best remembered for his franchise record 71 points, as he carried the Cleveland Cavaliers to an overtime win over the Chicago Bulls. He was one of the top 8 players ever to score 70 in a game, and despite the fact that it came in an overtime game, Cleveland needed each and every point to pull out a victory, and man, it was an instant classic. As a team, the Cleveland Cavaliers allowed the fewest points per game and had the league's second highest point differential. They finished in the top 10 in offensive rating and had the best defensive rating in the NBA. Cleveland won 51 games and made the playoffs as the East's 4th seed, and nobody wanted to play the Cleveland Cavaliers. With the front court of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell finally hitting their stride, and plenty of depth on the bench, Cleveland Cavaliers look poised for a deep run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But unfortunately, it wouldn't come to be. The good times would not roll into the NBA playoffs, and it's one of the most confusing matchup disasters we have ever seen in NBA history. You see, of all the teams the Cleveland Cavaliers could have faced, they went up against the New York Knicks. New York dispatched Donovan Mitchell and the Cavaliers with ease, manhandling them on the boards of all places, while the New York Knicks defense held Donovan Mitchell to an incredibly inefficient series. The Cavaliers were considered to be the favorite with home court advantage, but they would go down in 5 games. And I'd be damned if I didn't say that this most definitely sent a message to Donovan Mitchell. What could have been if you were a New York Knick? Cleveland's season of promise ended with a thud, but they had ascended to the next stage of contending with Donovan Mitchell in the fold. Getting to the postseason was an expectation now that their younger players had their first taste of playoff basketball. So how would the Cleveland Cavaliers fix this? How would they make sure that they would come into the 2023-24 season and make sure that they were primed and positioned for a deep run into the playoffs? Well, they only really made 2 transactions during the offseason, and I can't really blame them for doing so. They had tremendous faith in their big 4 of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. They acquired Max Strus in a 3-team sign-and trade and signed Donovan Mitchell's old Utah Jazz teammate Georges Niang. Strus and Niang addressed the Cavaliers' biggest weakness from last season: shooting. These moves are even more important because Cleveland starts 2 non-shooting bigs and needs more space for their smaller guards. However, perhaps the biggest story of Cleveland's offseason is a move they didn't make. Although he was eligible for a contract extension this summer, Donovan Mitchell did not sign a brand new deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's currently in the 3rd year of his 5-year rookie max contract extension. He's under contract again next season, but the final year of his deal is a player option, which he could decline and hit free agency ahead of his age 29 season. Now, I do want to give you a disclaimer. Financially, it would not make any sense for him to re-up this past summer. Historically, we've seen instances of superstars that had the option for a contract extension, but they chose not to do it because they had confidence that they would still be playing this well by the time their contract ended, and they can make more money once the salary cap went up, and they agreed to a brand new contract then. The only instances where you do see superstars do this is if they want to give their team a little bit of a hometown discount. It didn't make sense for Donovan Mitchell to re-up this summer. He could have done this for an additional 3 years and about $149 million. If he waits until this upcoming offseason, he could add 4 years to his deal worth about $200 million. His best possible payday would come in the 2025 free agency, where he could sign a 5-year deal worth about $260 million. The Supermax contract is not on the table for Mitchell since he was traded after his rookie contract expired. Before the season started, ESPN's Brian Windham Windhorst, who is as plugged into the Cavaliers as any national reporter, discussed why he's not surprised that Mitchell didn't re-sign and why it would be important to see how he handles that topic during media day.
Not expect him to sign an extension with the Cavs this summer, nor do I expect that to cause a major alarm. I expect him to go into next year. But the way that he handles discussing it is important. Because look at the way Giannis has chosen to talk about it. On his own volition, several times this summer, he has basically made it known that his future in Milwaukee is not assured. How Donovan answers that question and explains his decision process will be very important for the Cleveland Cavaliers, their fans, and potentially other teams out there who may be interested in making a trade for Donovan Mitchell at some point to listen to. My expectation is Donovan, who's a total pro, will handle this like he did in Utah, which was pledge his undying love to the Jazz, but also keep his options open.
As expected, Donovan Mitchell was asked about his contract situation on media day, but reminded everyone that he can still sign a new deal next summer.
What does this team have to do for you to maybe want to put long-term roots here?
For you, obviously, for myself, I want it to be known that I still have the opportunity to sign an extension next summer. I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect. But right now, ultimately, when the season's over, we'll get to that. I've addressed that with the front office and whatnot. So for me, that's my biggest thing is, I still have an opportunity to do the same thing next summer. And I know it's a world where there's always talk. This won't be the last time I probably have to answer this question. But
to be clear, will you not sign an extension with the Cavs before opening night? Have you made that clear to the front office?
No, it'd be, if I were to, it'd be next summer.
Okay. Is that a financial decision?
No, it's more so, like I said, just for me, going off of what we did last year. That's my primary focus is this, just trying to go out there and trying to be, the best team we can be and bring a championship to the city and then go from there. And I've addressed this with Kobe and everybody over there. I can still do it. Can still sign this extension, and I'm excited for what we got going forward.
Cleveland's best chance of keeping Donovan Mitchell would have to be another good regular season and to make up for last year's playoff disappointment with a series win. However, unlike last season when the Cavaliers started 8-1, the beginning of this season wasn't as smooth. The Cavaliers started a pedestrian 4-6 through 10 games. Although they were without Jarrett Allen for the first 5 games, the Cavs improved their record since the season has gone on, getting as high as 4 games above 500. But for the most part, they've been treading water. They've had key injuries in their rotation peppered throughout their early slate, like Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert, and Dean Wade, all missing at least 7 games. Plus, Cleveland's core 4 has only played in 11 games together all season. That's only going to continue in the near future. About a week ago, in a double whammy of bad news, the Cavaliers announced that Darius Garland would be out 4 weeks with a broken jaw and that Evan Mobley would need surgery on his left knee that will keep him out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's certainly not going to help out a team that has played below expectations on both sides of the floor. Their defensive rating has fallen to 10th, while their offensive rating is down to 19th. They've allowed the fewest points per game last season, but this season they ranked 7th. They had the second best point differential last season, but this season they ranked 17th with a nearly even differential. Cavaliers haven't been a bad team, but regressing in important categories is not how this season was supposed to go. Cleveland made a huge win-now trade because they thought their young players would continue to improve, but the team is mostly stagnated in the win column, and now 2 of their cornerstone players won't be in the lineup for weeks. Mobley in particular might really be the one holding the keys to Cleveland's future. The Cavaliers believe they got a steal drafting a potential 2-way star when they drafted the USC big man 3rd overall in 2021. He instantly showed elite defensive skills and finished 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting in just his first year. However, he has multiple question marks on the offensive end. While he's increased his field goal and 3-point percentage each season, he still has essentially no 3-point jumper. He also hasn't shown the ability to consistently create a shot, something that isn't backbreaking on a team with Garland and Mitchell, but it significantly limits Cleveland's big picture potential. Mobley has been a poor shooter once he's further than 8 feet from the basket, and he doesn't fare much better when he has to dribble before a shot. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers will have to wait for his and Garland's return to render a more complete evaluation of the team, but after speeding up their timeline with the Donovan Mitchell trade, they don't have much each time. Now, the good news for Cleveland is that Mitchell can't hit free agency until 2025 at the earliest. But Cleveland essentially has just the remainder of this season to convince Mitchell to stay long term. If he declines an extension again this summer, it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep him for the 2024 to 2025 season, but he could opt out and leave in 2025 free agency. Dealing him before things get ugly and recouping assets and players to help win now is Cleveland's best move in that scenario. Dealing Mitchell in the offseason also allows the Cavaliers to outline a plan that gives Evan Mobley more offensive touches next season to further develop his unpolished offensive game. While that might cost the Cavaliers in the short term, they're already not good enough to be considered a contender with Donovan Mitchell, barring a major turnaround. The Cleveland Cavaliers can't let Donovan Mitchell walk for nothing, especially considering the assets they gave up for him. After handing the Utah Jazz 5 years of draft capital, Cleveland can't rebuild without their own picks. Since the Cavaliers have to win this season, the Darius Garland and Evan Mobley injuries may actually decrease the chance of Donovan Mitchell getting moved before the deadline. Even with the injuries, Cleveland has not shown that they can push into the league's top tier this season and have few assets to improve the team in the immediate future. For his part, Donovan Mitchell has avoided questions about his future, saying he's focused on steadying the ship until Darius Garland and Evan Mobley return. But the Cleveland Cavaliers can't bury their heads in the sand. If the season goes sideways before the trade deadline, the calls to deal Mitchell will only grow louder. Same thing if Cleveland disappoints in the playoffs again. At that point, it'll just be a formality of where Donovan Mitchell would prefer to go rather than if the Cleveland Cavaliers decide to trade him. Let me know in the comment section down below. Will Donovan Mitchell be a Cleveland Cavalier in the future? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.